Hey, what's going on, guys? David Lee back with a brand new video and a brand new series. I'm going to be starting this series called Behind the Edits. And what it is taking you behind the scenes along the edits that I'm doing this year for my commercial work and also for my short films, documentaries, and then any collaboration work that I'm going to be doing with other filmmakers. And seeing as how I do a lot of commercial work, it makes sense for me to offer you guys my 2 cents as far as how I organize videos, my audio clips, what I actually do in the edit, what I use to edit, and any plugins or features that I use that you guys can find handy as well. So I have not touched this edit yet. I literally just had it transcoded, which is the first thing I do every time I shoot anything. Is I go back home, I dump all the footage onto my hard drive, and what I do is I have basically 3 different folders: one for ProRes, ProRes LT, and ProRes HQ. And depending on what kind of transcoding I want, I'll dump the footage into each individual folder. From there, I'll batch rename all the files from the original files to something that's more cohesive to my workflow. All right, I think that wraps it up with the organization part and the management part. Let's jump into Adobe Premiere Pro, which is what I use, and let's get started with the edits. All right, and so like magic, we are done with the edit. These edits usually don't take me too long, probably an hour to 2 hours, depending on what I actually need to do with the footage, meaning if I need to do any like noise reduction to it, which I had to do on I'd say 40 to 50% of these clips, as a bunch of the shots indoors were just extreme low light. I think I was at ISO like 6400, some of them even ISO, like between ISO 5000 and 8000 for some of these shots on the Canon 1DX Mark II, and it does really well in low light. However, certain shots, as you can see, like in the background, you can definitely see that there's normally noise back here, so I just had to do some noise reduction. But let's take a look at my timeline really quick and see how I use labels to sort of like color organize all of my my clips, whether that be video clips, audio clips, music, sound effects, titles, things of that nature. So when I start off a clip, I'm going to always put this as one color along with the end of the clip, just so it's kind of like a signifier for myself that this is the beginning of a sequence and then this is the end of a sequence. It depends what color I use. Sometimes I use different ones, but today I just chose to use lavender for the beginning and the end shots. I also chose to go with the yellow label for all of my audio. Again, these are audio clips that were taken from the Zoom H1 recorder. I like to just change the default audio to something that's more noticeable. As you can see on this clip here, I left the original audio clip from the in-camera audio recording. What I do is I leave it, I usually leave all the clips here just in case there's something that I messed up on in post with the recorded audio. I can at least go back to the on-camera audio and see if I can salvage it somehow. But I was pretty happy with all the clips except for this beginning clip. There was some scruffing that I couldn't get rid of. So right now we're gonna go ahead and unlink. Oh, I already did that. Okay, unlink, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this clip, and then I can unmute this track. Go ahead and save. And for the most part, this video is again just describing what you can do inside of one of the venues for my client that he can offer to anyone that's getting married or having an anniversary company party. It's a walk and talk type of advertisement here. So we're going from just the intro to a wide shot B-roll. That's super important for you guys if you're doing any kind of like real estate or commercial work where you're trying to showcase a room, an environment, get as wide of an angle as you can. I typically use the Laowa 12mm f2.8 on full frame. So B-roll shot, and then here he's talking about the Chiavari chairs and gold charger plates as sort of like a thing that couples are looking for when they're getting married, something that they want on their tables, and also just a variety of tables. You have these long family style tables and then these more modern circular tables. So he says that we cut into B-roll of the circular tables and the Chiavari chairs with I forgot who this person is, but she's lighting candles. So, you know, candles and weddings and things like that, it just makes sense to put them all together. So from here, he's talking about going from, as the staff is preparing the indoors, your guests can be outside enjoying their cocktail hour. So we go from the inside, we turn, and then we're going to go out to B-roll shot. I did a little jib shot with my glide cam to show a little bit more of basically the outdoor scenery, the bar. People want to have a little drink before the actual ceremony takes place. And then transition wise, I think transitions are pretty much up to everyone, whatever you want to do. I try not to overuse like advanced transitions. So right now I use a zoom out transition. The reason why is because it makes sense with the next shot. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. As you can see, my talent is coming towards me. So it makes sense for me to zoom out as I'm walking back, or a dolly out shot as he's coming towards the audience, so to speak. So he's talking about it's a private cigar lounge, which I don't even know what these people got. These people were getting married this day, and they got all these like weird, I don't know what these things are. It's like bizarre, like something out of Mad Max. Anyway, so then added a little bit of a layered background on top to kind of mimic kind of like cigar smoke, just more like ember ash, I guess you can say. And then again, B-roll shot. So you can see the sequence here is pretty much talking head, B-roll, talking head, B-roll, talking head, B-roll. Next part is my talent is talking about a custom photo lounge. Perfect for, they have a little frame here, obviously, so you can, get your photo taken, but they have a chair here, pillows here, some practical lighting here. And I was talking about that. What I did was in the B-roll shot, instead of just doing a standard B-roll shot, I added in a camera overlay, this like a DSLR camera overlay. And actually, I didn't do this because I added the layer before I added my CinemaScope lines. I usually do this as up top here. I'll have text here with some type of either like a hashtag, like hashtag wedding ideas, hashtag whatever, or anything that's indicative to who is watching the ad. So this could say like, getting married soon, ? Anything like that. So let's go ahead and adjust this guy here so you can see the rest of it. There we go. So I like that. Actually, I'm going to reduce the scale to 90%. Let's bring this down just a tad. Save. There we go. Cool. So as you transition out to the B-roll, we have this overlay shot of a DSLR viewfinder, and then just some audio effects here, which I'll get into in a moment, and then the ending title. Call to action, which you always need in any kind of ad. You always need some sort of call to action or a CTA, and just B-roll shots, of the guests having fun. They're laughing, they're talking, they're enjoying the ambiance, the food, the drinks, the snacks, the appetizers, and then that's pretty much it. 60 seconds, right? Yeah, 59.222, right? Same thing. So let's go into a little bit more detail as far as the sound effects, and then also what I had to do with the color grade. I won't go in depth into color grading. I'm just going to show you what I had to do to color match the shots, which I think is very, very important. If you aren't into color grading, if you feel like it's too difficult, that's totally understandable. I was there one time as well too, but color grading has become one of my favorite things to do. But color matching, I would say, would be the first thing I would invite anyone to do or to learn first, is to color correct your footage and then color match your footage as best as possible, So let's talk about sound first. From here, sound effects, I typically use the rose color, and then if I have multiple tracks, as you can see, my timeline is very, very simple. It's a 60-second ad, so there really isn't much going on into this. But if I had, like 10 audio tracks, then instead of using rose, I'll use a combination of rose and magenta. but for the most part, I just use rows. From here, what I did was I added a graduating fade to black manually. And then what I like to do with that is I like to add some type of like ambiance effect. And so this one I have is from Olufemi. You may know his channel. If not, I'll put a link in the description. Guys, check out his channel. He has a link to these awesome sound packs. It's like it's $100 for 100 sound effects from drones to risers to Brahms and hits and whooshes. It's freaking awesome. And then what I do is typically I don't use them out of the box. I always modify them myself. So for these fades, it's very, very subtle. What I first did was I changed the speed and duration to 50% to elongate or make longer the actual soundtrack. And then what I did was I added a low pass filter. I kept it at the default, and then added surround reverb just to give it a little bit more of a environmental effect that isn't just naturally coming out of speakers. It kind of just sounds like it's very faint in the background. And then the preset I use is Somewhere Not Here. And then next one for whooshes, same thing. For any kind of zoom out, zoom in, or directional blurs, which I like to do a lot. Same thing. I believe, yeah, speed I just dropped down to 80% as the transition is very fast. You know, the zoom out, if I play it, right, it's 8 frames. It's 8 frames. 8 frames in, and then 8 frames out. So it's a pretty quick transition. You don't need to reduce the timing of that too long. And then again, added low pass, but I lowered down the cutoff frequency, and then surround reverb again, Somewhere Not Here. A cool thing that will also help you guys out too is sometimes audio effects can come in just too abruptly. So one trick you can use to make it more gradual without anyone really noticing it is to use what's called constant gain. So these are all built into Premiere. You know, constant gain, low pass, and surround reverb are all built into Premiere. You don't need to go into Audition for that. And then for like fades in and fade out of black, I typically add a constant gain in the front and then at the end of the clip. For the whoosh, I only need it in the front, and I kind of let it play out like that. And then for the next transition, where I kind of have these like swirly, you know, like dust or atmosphere, I just use it's a windy desert. I think I got this. I think I got this from a free like a free filmmaker asset pack or something like that. It came in 15 different sound environmental sound effects. And then from here, all I used was surround reverb. I changed this to loss in space instead, as it just kind of adds this more it kind of changes the ambiance of the audio. So that's coming from like above, I guess you can say, and not just, you know, directionally in front. And then a constant gain in, constant gain out. And then for the last one, it's just these little camera shots. I think I just Googled, or I went on YouTube and I typed in camera flash sound effect, and I found one for free. So, you know, I just use these for 2 shots, because you can see here, lock and focus. So you want a shot there, and then lock and focus again. So lock and focus again, and then get another shutter shot. Cool. Last but not least, let's go into a little bit of what I had to do for the color grade. This probably took me a little bit longer just to get everything matched up. If I go back to the beginning of this clip, you can see here I have a bunch of stuff in this clip. Depending on the project, I typically will use adjustment layers for very similar shots, but since these shots were all a little bit different in their own way, I decided to color grade, correct, and match each one hand by hand or clip by clip. So the first thing is, you can see here that the white balance just all over the place. You know, there's like white tables, there's brown tiling, there's this freaking like Return to the Jedi blue ambient glow. It's just everywhere. There's tungsten everywhere. So what I had to do was, if I disable these two here, you'll notice that my talent's skin tones he's like really pink. Everything else looks pretty much how it should look, you know, like white walls, white drapes, tungsten lighting, blue LEDs, uplights, right? So that looks pretty natural. But his skin tone, his skin tone actually does kind of change depending on, I guess, like, he gets overheated sometimes. So you know, his skin tone does change, and it's definitely difficult to color balance everything. So what I did was I use Magic Bullet Looks for a lot of my color grading along with Film Convert. But what I did was I added this tool called Skin Squeeze. It's part of the Mojo effect. And then what it does is, let me see if I can do this. There we go. I had my Lumetri on another monitor. What is this thing doing? Here we go. Okay. So it's bringing it in here. And then you notice if I disable Skin Squeeze, you can see that my waveform, things on the vector scope are changing just ever so slightly if I disable Skin Squeeze. And if you look closely on his face, right now it's disabled, so he looks very like pinkish. And then if I enable it, it changes so that the skin tone, it basically squeezes the saturation out of the clip, basically what it does. But it tries to do it only for skin tones and not just the entire, not everything in the clip. But only works so much, and if you use it too much, then he becomes like a pale ghost. So what I did was I used I'd use HSL, specifically Colorista. It's inside Magic Bullet Looks as well too. And what I did was go ahead and open the plugin. I can show you exactly what I did. So here what I did was I dropped the saturation of red all the way to -20%, and then I changed the hue of the red to +40%, so it brings it more towards orange. And then let's go ahead and just save that. And then what I did was I didn't notice that it was happening in the beginning of the clip because everything kind of looks how it should look. But then as you start to graduate towards the end of the clip, he's just like really pink. So what I did was I just keyframed the strength, which is what I love about this plugin. So you can keyframe the strength or the intensity of the plugin. Let's enable this. So right now it's a 0%. And then if I go all the way to the last keyframe, I'm only about 50%, but now you can see his skin tone looks more natural since he has more like Caucasian skin tone. So if I disable this one more time, HSL down, see he's a little bit pink. You can even see on the Lumetri here. And then if I re-enable the plugin, skin tones look a little bit more natural here. And I had to do that for a couple different shots, just all around here. So especially this one here, white balance was just like all over the place. So I had to blend his skin tones in with the overall matte tone, unless you're shooting like on RAW or something like that. So same thing, I only used HSL down for this one. And then these shots were all taken pretty much the sun was already down. I think there was only maybe like 10 minutes before it was pitch black. As we progress here, we're coming out right now. You can tell right now that the sun's pretty much, gone. And in this shot, the sun was almost coming down. It was about halfway. And then these two shots, actually the sun was still out. So what I had to do was I had to color or I had to match the exposure. Just lower the exposure a tiny bit on these two clips to match everything else, since everything else is kind of dark, so to speak. These ones, same thing. I just lowered the exposure just a tiny bit in order for everything to match up well, not have one clip overexposed and then another clip underexposed and then another clip look pretty good, look normal. All right, audio is gonna sound a little bit different as I made a stupid mistake. I thought I had exported the footage from my camera, my other camera, onto my computer, and I didn't, because it's just one of those days, I guess, you know. Things happen. We all make mistakes, and that was one mistake that I made. Was I deleted the last clip for the outro of this video. Since the sun was going down, I wanted to keep the exposure the same as I possibly could without having to do anything in post. But stupid me, I didn't realize I deleted it after the fact. Luckily, I still have the other 2 clips, but this is pretty much the outro of it. Hope you guys enjoy the information that I brought to you as far as how I edit my videos for commercials for Instagram and Facebook. Definitely hope that helps you guys out in any way. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to go into more detail with in the next episode. And I'm going to be offering more of these behind the edits for not only commercials, but I hope to change them up for my docs, for short films, and anything that I'm going to be collaborating on with other filmmakers this year. I'm also going to be starting a behind the scenes, I'm going to call it behind the frame, where I actually take you guys behind the scenes of commercials that I do, short films, and also documentaries. That way you guys can get a glimpse as far as what happens through an actual set, an actual commercial, some run and gun stuff, some set stuff with, you know, lighting and booms and everything like that. So leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, just so you guys are notified of when new content arrives your way. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Other than that, my name is David Lee, and friends, remember every day that you have an opportunity to create your own experience and to write and tell your own story. I'll see you guys in the next video.